The courtroom is quiet, but the silence is so charged it's almost palpable. You can hear the soft scratch of a pen, the rustling of papers, even the nervous throat clearing. Kody sits at the defense table, his hands folded tightly in front of him, knuckles white. Across the room, Christine's eyes are bright, almost piercing, as if challenging someone to break the silence. Meri plays with her bracelet, turning it round and round, her eyes flicking from one family member to the next. And Janelle, she merely sits, serene on the surface, but a storm is brewing behind those tranquil eyes. Robyn inches forward, her hands clapped together in silent supplication, her lips set in a thin, resolute line. This is not just a courtroom, it's a battlefield dressed up as law and order, and everybody knows the next few hours may change everything. It began weeks before that, with what appeared to be a trivial row about money. A missing check here, a mysterious expense there, little things that, in any normal family, would be ironed out by a chat. But in this family, where all secrets weighed heavy and all loyalties were pushed to the limit, those little things snowballed into something much bigger. The tension had been building for months, building under the surface of carefully constructed smiles and friendly banter on Sunday afternoons. And now, the boil had broken. The judge walks in, and all heads turn toward the bench. The gavel crashes once, twice, and the room drops into an uncomfortable silence. Kody lets out a slow breath, attempting to steady himself. He knows what's to come, he knows the charges that have brought them all here. But nothing can prepare him for the searing taste of betrayal that cuts deeper when it comes from someone you used to trust absolutely. Christine stands up first, her tone firm but pointed as she presents the argument. She talks about broken promises, veiled messages, and clandestine meetings that she asserts have eroded the family's confidence for years. Her words linger in the air like smoke, filling the space with a feeling of doom. Each word is measured, careful, each syllable crafted to cut through defenses Kody and Robyn have constructed around themselves. Kody fidgets in his seat, attempting to put together an answer. He opens his mouth, then closes it once again, swallowing hard. This isn't about facts and evidence. This is personal, it's intimate, it's about years of decisions, sacrifices, and allegiances. And now, all of that is being torn apart in front of a group of strangers who will eventually determine the direction of their lives. Meri slowly rises to her feet, her voice shaking slightly as she tells her version of events. Tears well up in her eyes, but she continues on, insisting on being heard. "I never wanted it to be this way," she mutters softly, almost a whisper, but it gets through the courtroom. But the truth is important. Her words have weight, and, for an instant, the room catches its breath together. It is not merely a fight about law, it is an emotional one, where betrayal and heartache are on par with the law. Across the room, Janelle sits back in her chair, her face closed off. But anyone who's really watching can detect the tension in her shoulders, the almost imperceptible clenching of her jaw. She's not only a witness, she's also a participant in this delicate dance of accusation and defense, and she realizes that one misplaced step could upset the entire balance. Her silence is like a scream, nearly louder than the bickering around her. Robyn then speaks, her voice calm but authoritative. She tells them of the events that brought them to this place, not merely the events themselves, but the habits, the decisions, and the cracks that developed over a period of years. Her words are economical, almost detached, but beneath them lies a reservoir of raw emotion that teeters on the verge of overflowing at any second. "We have attempted to repair this in private," she tells him, her voice firm but her shaking hands. "But at times, justice necessitates a public account." The angst hits a new high when the defense attorney starts his cross-examination. Questions are piercing, quick-fire, each one meant to shake, to incite, to reveal fault lines in the narratives every member of each family is presenting. Glares scan the room. Kody's knuckles whiten once more as he clutches the tabletop. Christine's eyes are fixed, immovable. Even the judge pushes his chair forward slightly, as if feeling the explosive tension in the air. A silence descends when the first item of incriminating evidence is shown, an email exchange, screenshots of illicit chats, times and dates that conflict with public claims. Gasp tremors run through the court. Meri places a hand over her mouth, her eyes wide. Christine leans forward a little bit, a tiny satisfied smile playing at her lips. Janelle's fingers clench around the armrest of her chair. And Kody, he swallows hard, the weight of the accusations bearing down on him like a physical weight. The courtroom is a setting for unvarnished emotion. There are pauses, punctuated only by the occasional sniffle or the scritch of a pen. There are bursts of yelling as accusations reach a fever pitch and defenses heighten. And over it all, the strands of narrative, of betrayal, of loyalty, of sequestered truths are so intricately woven that no one can follow them in a day. Flashbacks intrude into the story, almost filmic in their power. Images of Sunday dinner gatherings, hushed talk behind closed doors, stolen looks in corridors, everything in those moments now has a new, electric significance. The viewer senses the baggage of years of tension distilled into this single courtroom drama. Alliances slowly shift during the session. Robyn moves in to whisper to Kody, a move that goes unseen by everyone but full of unspoken moves. Christine's own body straightens as if she knows there's a play being made against her story. Janelle's eyes flick back and forth, taking in responses, measuring reactions. And Meri, she silently wipes away a tear, her thoughts running through memories and possibilities, unsure what the end result will be. The emotion reaches its climax when the first witness is brought into the room. They speak with a hesitant reluctance at first, but as their story unrolls, the room itself becomes an emotional crucible. Every word, every memory, heaps itself upon the already suffocating atmosphere. The family members register reactions discreetly, an eyebrow raise, an urgent gasp of breath, a tight nod, and in these minute details, the audience can sense the undertow of hope and fear and strategy. The judge intervenes briefly, demanding order, but the impact is small. The courtroom is charged with electricity, each word, each look packed with possible ramifications. The past, present, and future of the family are all on the scales, and no one departs the courtroom unmoved. As the first session comes to a close, a final bombshell is dropped. A revelation regarding a long-held secret that has yet to be discovered is about to blow everything apart. The room collectively holds its breath. Eyes widen, jaws tighten, and hearts pound. The judge bangs the gavel, calling for a short recess, but the tension doesn't dissipate. Everyone knows the real storm has only just begun. The camera would pan slowly across the room, capturing Kody's tight jaw, Christine's satisfied glare, Janelle's calculating stare, Meri's tear-streaked face, and Robyn's quiet determination. Every expression conveys a more compelling story than can ever be told in words. A sense of foreboding, expectation, and one's urgent need to know the outcome lingers with the audience. The last moment of the session has audiences in suspension. A rolled-off comment, heard by no one but the camera, suggests a hidden secret to be disclosed, a betrayal that will cause the family's foundations to tremble when the doors of the courthouse open once more. And with that, the first session concludes, leaving audiences wondering about loyalty, motives, and the very concept of truth in this muddled family drama. The courtroom resumes after the short break, but the atmosphere is different. There is now a stiller tension, a deeper, more charged one. Every step, every look is loaded. Kody leans back in his seat, arms crossed, but his foot taps with an uncontrollable urgency under the table. He is attempting to look calm, but the turmoil that rages inside him is palpable. In the corner of the room, Christine sits slightly forward, her lips curving into a knowing smile, as if she's aware the dominoes are on the verge of toppling in her direction. Meri appears next, her face ashen but resolute. She grips a folder tightly against her, her knuckles pale. It's obvious that she's holding something significant, something that would totally reverse the story. Janelle sits calmly, but the minuscule narrowing of her eyes gives away the calculation behind her facade. Robyn's hands remain clasped in the same quiet prayer gesture, her eyes locked on the door. She understands that this session is critical. The next few hours may make all the difference to the future of the family in ways they are only now comprehending. The judge bangs his gavel, and the next stage commences: cross-examination. Here, the truth, or a semblance of it, will be proved. Christine stands first, her tone firm, clinical. She describes events in the history of the family, neatly interlocking a scenario that makes her out to be the aggrieved, the one who has been pushed aside and deceived. Her words are accurate, but they have a venomous bite. Each sentence a deliberate blow, meant to undermine Kody and Robyn at the same time. Kody stands up to reply, but his tone is measured, almost tentative at first. He recites his account of what happened, with an emphasis on misunderstandings, miscommunications, and previous efforts to iron out differences. But even as he speaks, there is tension in his bearing, a muted rigidity in his shoulders. He understands that the courtroom is not only hearing what he says, he is having his character, his decision-making, his allegiance weighed. Meri is next called to the stand. Her testimony falters at first. Her hands shake a little as she grips the podium. She testifies about intimate conversations overheard, half hints of threat and whispered aspersions leveled against her over months. Her voice breaks when she speaks of Kody's choices, the ones that left her and others exposed. Each statement she makes is charged with emotion, and the viewers can feel her terror, her desire for validation, and the ethical battle ravaging her from the inside. Christine settles back in her chair, a glint in her eye. It's obvious that she believes she's winning. Janelle edges forward, the thin line of her lips a badge of disapproval, judging the drama unfolding before her. Robyn puts forward her head, her forehead creased, listening attentively, waiting for the opportunity when she'll have to intervene to salvage what's left of her own integrity and power within the family. And then, the bombshell is delivered. A series of messages, long hidden, is revealed as proof. They show family members discussing among themselves in ways that indicate planning, lying, and betrayal no one saw coming. The room falls silent, each member stunned by the gravity of these words. Kody clenches his jaw. Meri swallows. She looks over at Christine, who is now essentially exuding victory. Janelle is unyielding, but a momentary glimmer of uncertainty passes over her eyes. Robyn's grip on the table edge hardens. She's strategizing, working out how to dampen the harm before it's too late. The cross-examination gets tougher. Christine's lawyer grills her on specifics, posing questions aimed at revealing discrepancies in Kody's and Robyn's accounts. Kody's answers are forced, but the tension is there. His voice cracks periodically, his hands flutter, his eyes dart. Robyn responds with placid, but insistent interruptions, explaining things, attempting to anchor the account before it completely unravels. Meri, who is reluctant at first, starts coming into her own. She speaks of intimate moments of fear and manipulation she has seen throughout the years, chronicling events previously kept under wraps. Her testimony is credible because it is not accusation, it is experience. She speaks of evenings spent sitting together with the family, being polite to the eye, beneath whose floorboards simmered resentment and secrets like rivers. Janelle's turn at the stand introduces new energy. Her placid demeanor conceals the emotional intensity below. She talks of loyalty, caught between sisters, of attempting to stand in the middle while secretly witnessing the cracks running through the family. Her sentences are calculated, but every sentence carries the strain of a person having to walk through a minefield where a single misstep would lead to catastrophe. The strain is raised even higher when there is a surprise witness. No one in the courtroom was prepared for this individual, a longtime family acquaintance, whose testimony would clear or ruin names. The witness begins recounting incidents of manipulation, secret meetings, and confrontations that paint a new, darker picture of the family dynamics. Gasps echo softly across the room. Meri's eyes widen. Christine smirks. Janelle's jaw tightens, and Kody's face pales ever so slightly. Robyn grips her seat, bracing herself for the fallout. Evidence keeps being laid before them, notes scribbled by hand, message screenshots, even audio recordings. Each edition brings more nuance, illustrating the battles run deeper than anyone had known. The public can nearly sense the burden of decades of lying, seething rage, and shattered trust weighing down upon the courtroom. The courtroom itself shrinks under the tension. The air is heavy, tinged with the faint scent of paper, perfume, and the subtle metallic tang of nerves. Every shuffling step echoes loudly, every whispered comment feels amplified. The camera would linger on expressions, the tightness around Kody's eyes, Christine's fleeting smirk, Meri's trembling hands, Janelle's calculating gaze, and Robyn's quiet determination. Every face speaks for itself, drawing spectators deeper into the depths of emotional gravity of the moment. Lastly, Christine makes a statement that becomes shockwaves in the courtroom. She produces a series of plans that were allegedly put together to manipulate some of the family members, measures intended to consolidate power and influence within the home. Her voice swells, filled with a combination of triumph and pain, and Kody appears as though he is about to break beneath the power of the accusations. Meri softly gasps, Robyn leans in, and Janelle's calm disquiets ever so slightly. The room almost visibly senses the tension of the moment, the kind that makes hearts pound and palms moist. Cross-examination is over, but the effect remains. Everyone in the courtroom is trying to wrap their head around the disclosures. Whispers abound, lawyers whisper among themselves, and the judge observes the family with care, recognizing that the drama of the courtroom has mushroomed into something much larger than mere legal proceedings. This isn't a matter of right or wrong, it's about trust, loyalty, and the outcomes of decisions made through decades of lives intertwined. As the session draws to a close, another bombshell drops. A long secret deal is revealed, one that could destroy Christine's entire case, or seal it irreparably. The camera would rest on Kody, whose visage is frozen in shock and incredulity. Meri's eyes fill with tears, Robyn's joy tightens, and Janelle leans back, silently processing what this means for her position within the family hierarchy. The judge calls for another recess, but the tension does not dissipate. Everyone leaves the room in silence, each step heavy with the knowledge that the next phase will be even more intense. Behind closed doors, whispered strategies and private conversations begin. Kody consults with Robyn, attempting to devise a strategy to counter the exposures. Meri speaks softly with an attorney's aide, collecting herself. Janelle watches intently, mentally counting her next steps. Christine, assured and calm, strides with an undercurrent of victory, feeling the advantage she has achieved. As the family breaks apart, the audience is left with a sense of continuing suspense, the knowledge that nothing is resolved, and anticipation of what will transpire in the next session. The stakes have been significantly raised, and the story has just begun to unfold. By the conclusion of Section 2, audiences are emotionally engaged, wondering about loyalties and anxious to discover how the family faces the perilous journey ahead. Section 3 is now primed to deliver its full measure of emotion, as high as it's ever been, and suspense as high as it can be, with personal confrontations and courtroom drama. The courtroom is tense, electric, when Section 3 opens up. You feel the difference the instant everyone settles in. What was tension pre-trial has boiled over into a full-fledged storm of emotion. Kody sits stiffly, jaw set, fingers tapping an agitated rhythm against the tabletop. Robyn sits forward, eyes roving the room, calculating, waiting for the instant when everything threatens to get out of hand. Christine sits with a slight, confident smile, radiating a quiet triumph as if she already knows how the narrative will unfold. Meri's face is pale, her lips pressed tightly together, and Janelle's calm demeanor is almost an illusion. Her eyes flicker with worry, calculation, and barely contained emotion. The next witness is called, a close family confidant who has long held secrets that could devastate the family. The courtroom is rendered silent as they step up to the stand, their hands trembling. Each piece of information they share slices through the air like a blade. They talk about late-night discussions, hushed disagreements, and promises shattered behind closed doors. Each word is calculated, purposeful, but replete with the girth of years of stifled contention. The family exchanges tense glances, some brimming with shock, others with anger or fear. The witness recounts an incident that occurred months earlier, An explosive confrontation that had been hidden from everyone except a select few. Kody's face pales as names and dates are mentioned. Meri's hands tremble as memories flood back, each one sharper than the last. Robyn's lips compress into a tight line, restraining a gush of emotion that she knows would betray her tightly managed dignity. Christine's eyes glint with the pleasure of having her meticulously constructed story start to disintegrate under the pressure of these revelations. The courtroom seems smaller now, as if the walls are closing in under the sheer power of the drama playing out within. The judge leans forward, banging the gavel gently, attempting to keep order, but the room appears out of control. Each hushed conversation, each subtle gesture, is tense. Kody fidgets in his chair, beads of sweat forming at the temples. Robyn's fingers dig into the table's edge. Meri blinks repeatedly, attempting to suppress tears. Christine's sneer never wavers. And Janelle, who is quiet but a tempest bottled up in a serene exterior, thinks out each response. And then there is the bombshell testimony. The witness drops the bombshell, a major family secret, a betrayal that had been skillfully concealed, had actually been engineered by someone no one suspected. Soft gasps ripple through the courtroom. Meri clamps her hand over her mouth, eyes wide. Christine shifts slightly forward, a glint of triumph in her eyes. Kody's lips open as if to say something, but words fail him. Robyn gasps in, preparing herself for the worst. Janelle's grip on the armrest tightens. The discovery rattles the family to its foundations, laying bare weaknesses that none of them could have predicted. The tension reaches a boiling point when Kody is summoned to the witness stand. He gets up slowly, the gravity of the moment evident in each step. As he speaks, his tone is measured, but laced with a quiet urgency. He tells his version of the events, describing choices made, intentions misread, and silences filled in as betrayal. But even as he utters the words, the fractures in his demeanor show. His hands tremble a little, and his eyes flash to Christine, as if he is hoping for assent or comprehension that he knows he will not receive. Meri is followed, and the emotional charge surges. She speaks of personal experiences of sadness, secret fears, and private showdowns that have defined the family culture. Her voice cracks occasionally and tears flow unchecked, but there is also a resilience in her testimony, a bravery that rings true. She talks about love, loyalty, and the agony of the secrets kept for so many years. The audience can sense her pain as if it belongs to them, feeling the very human aspect of this drama in the courtroom. Christine takes the opportunity to interrupt, her speech biting, cutting, and to the point. She questions Kody's words, pointing out contradiction, inconsistency, and lapses where he did not respond. Her tone rises, thick with accusation and temper tightly held. "How did you allow this to happen?" she asks, her gaze pinning Kody's. "After all we've endured, after all the vows, our promises, how?" The courtroom waits, the question suspended like a storm cloud about to break. The next several minutes are a blur. Janelle is brought in to testify, her steady voice hiding the volcano of turmoil below. She tells of events that emphasize entangled loyalties, manipulations, and misapprehensions. Her language is deliberate but incisive, each statement revealing concealed cracks in the family. The courtroom is transfixed, taking in the weight of what she says. Every individual on the stand, everyone listening in the room, is impacted by the raw emotional force of her testimony. Then enters the biggest bombshell yet, a hidden document, not previously made public, is submitted into evidence. The family responds in the moment. Kody's eyes widen, his hands clench the table's edge with fresh tension. Meri inhales audibly, her body tensing. Robyn's face goes white, but she leans forward, set. Christine's lips purse into a thin, pleased smile, knowing the momentum has changed. Janelle's face sets in a hard mask of comprehension, racing to figure out what this document means for her own status and future. The courtroom air grows nearly intolerable. The air is heavy, with each intake of breath heavier than the last. Each indrawn word, each whispered movement holds titanic weight. The audience can sense the tension bearing down, the emotional investment looming like an unseeable wall around all the guests. Cody's defense starts to crack ever so slightly under the intense grilling, his voice breaking as he fights to keep his cool. Robyn intervenes with well-crafted words, attempting to stem the flow of events, but even she can sense the gravity of the events unfolding. Meri's tears continue to flow, but her resolve strengthens. She recounts moments where she felt powerless, silenced, or betrayed, emphasizing that the pain is not just legal, it is profoundly personal. Each word she speaks resonates with the audience, creating empathy, tension, and anticipation for what will happen next. Christine leans back slightly, savoring the moment of impact, while Janelle silently calculates, weighing each revelation for its implications. The drama reaches a boiling point as Kody makes a final, desperate appeal. His voice is filled with remorse, anger, and resolve. He makes it clear that there were wrongs committed, but never with malicious intent. He begs the court to view the family not as individuals, but as a multifaceted equation of emotions, error, and love. But the words linger in the air, challenged by the evidence, by the testimony, and by the emotional impact of the accusations. The session ends in a moment of emotional silence. Each member of the family grapples with the disclosures. Their face is a combination of shock, rage, grief, and resolve. Kody leans back, the struggle seeming to ebb out of him. Robyn breathes slowly, attempting to hold her own. Meri dabs at her tears, her hands trembling. Christine's smile dissolves as the gravity of the courtroom intrigue sets in, and Janelle is still composed, but her eyes give away the mental arithmetic whirling within. The gavel comes down for recess, but the reverberations of this hearing remain in the air. The public is left with a cliffhanger, the realization that the secrets known here will have repercussions far outside the courtroom, remaking relationships, allegiances, and the very existence of the family. Every exchanged glance, every hushed word behind the closed doors threatens more intrigue, more tension, and more secrets to be unveiled. At the conclusion of Section 3, the audience is completely engaged, emotionally committed, on edge, and desperate to know what occurs next. The drama has arrived at an emotional peak, paving the way for Section 4, where the trial showdown rages on and tactical moves meet personal tragedy in a dramatic showdown. The courtroom is nearly unbearable when Section 4 starts. The air is thick, as if the walls themselves are bearing down on everyone in attendance. Kody sits with his fists bunched tightly on the table, knuckles white, jaw clenched, eyes flicking between Christine, Robyn, and the judge. Robyn leans forward, face serene but charged with barely suppressed tension. Christine sits up straight, exuding a chill assurance, her eyes the beam of a laser slicing through the air, measuring every flinch, every look, every momentary pause. Meri squirms in her seat, her shoulders hunched as if to shield herself from the tempest gathering about her. Janelle keeps up her calm facade, but the calculation and terror seeping just below are betrayed by her eyes. The judge brings the room to order. This session is make or break. The puzzle pieces are going to come crashing together, and each word, each movement will have added significance. Christine stands up first, her lawyer leading her through a careful rehashing of history, plans, and moves. Each word is controlled, each one designed to strike Kody and Robyn at the family's integrity. The court listens attentively, some gasping softly, others fidgeting uncomfortably as the extent of purported betrayal becomes apparent. Kody rises to reply, his voice at first firm, but shaking ever so slightly under scrutiny. He tells his side of events, stressing intentions, misunderstandings, and the effort he says he made to keep the family at peace. But even as he talks, fissures in his self-control show, his hands shake, and his eyes dart towards Christine, silently imploring her for compassion that might never arrive. Meri is recalled to the stand, this time to testify to things she directly experienced, intimate chats, tearful arguments, and instances of manipulation behind closed doors. Her voice quavers, tears streaming down her face, but she continues, relating each incident with naked candor. The audience is aware of her anguish and frustration, sensing the profound emotional stakes, which are so much more than legal. Christine takes her opportunity to interrupt. Her questions are razor-sharp, sharp, and biting. "Why did you let this occur?" she asks Kody, her voice shaking between repressed rage and real heartache. "After all the vows, all the attempts to maintain this household together, why?" The courtroom hangs on each syllable, everyone weighed with accusation and moral judgment. The next item of evidence is played, an audio tape, several months old, recording a fiery argument between Kody and Christine. The audio is raw, uncorrected, a straight portal into the emotional storm of their relationship. Each word uttered goes through the room and hangs there, heavy with weight, anger, and heartbreak. Kody's face changes as he hears, a combination of remorse and despair crossing his features. Robyn's eyes tighten a fraction, taking in the proof as she emotionally prepares for her answer. Meri hides her face in her hands, sobbing, and Janelle's body tenses, all her muscles wound tightly with waiting. The witness on the stand is next instructed to describe intimate family moments detailing betrayals and changing allegiances. Every statement piles on top of the story, heightening tension that becomes well-nigh unbearable. The audience is drawn further into the emotional terrain, sensitive to the burden of years of pent-up conflict condensed into these few strained hours. A sealed letter is presented as evidence, weeks or months earlier by a member of the family whose name is not spoken. Its contents imply manipulation and clandestine scheming, casting new light on earlier acts and choices. Gasps ripple through the room. Kody leans back in shock, eyes wide, processing the implications. Meri's hands tremble. Robyn leans forward, bracing herself. Christine's expression flickers with the thrill of victory, while Janelle's eyes dart from face to face, silently calculating her next move. The cross-examination becomes more ferocious. Questions are like arrows, and each is intended to destabilize and provoke. Kody finds it hard to answer under the burden of piling evidence, his voice sometimes cracking, revealing the pressure he is under. Robyn steps in tactfully, slowly clarifying things and trying to steer the story towards fairness and perspective. Christine's lawyer continues the barrage, each question a measured blow, aimed at bringing out inconsistencies or weaknesses in what Kody says. Meri is goaded into recounting intimate showdowns with Christine and Janelle, moments that unveil profound emotional anguish and betrayal. Her voice becomes stronger with every word, but the tears and shuddering in her hands indicate exactly how deeply this struggle resonates within her. The courtroom is a pressure cooker, each new revelation cranking up the emotional and psychological stakes. Janelle returns to the witness stand, her tone calm but icy. She testifies about flashes of loyalty and betrayal, depicting the intricate entanglement of relationships and changing allegiances within the family. Every sentence is charged with the strain of a person walking over a minefield, aware that one wrong move could have irreversible results. Her evidence is exacting, charged, and replete with understated suggestions, keeping the courtroom and audiences in suspense, waiting to see what she will say next. And now the session's most stunning revelation, a clandestine financial arrangement, long unknown, that puts several family members in the shadows. The courtroom sounds with whispers. Kody's face pales. Meri audibly gasps and shakes. Robyn's grip around her folder turns white-knuckle tight, jaw clenched. Christine's smile broadens just a bit, feeling the advantage she now possesses. Janelle is calm, but her eyes reveal the mental math working in her head. The courtroom is turned into a platform for open, unbridled emotion. Kody stands, begging to be understood, to be treated fairly, to be recognized that errors were committed but never done with ill intent. His voice cracks with a mix of sadness, desperation, and resolve. He highlights that the issues of the family have been made worse by miscommunication, deep secrets, and personal shortcomings, but the court remains unimpressed, gauging by the stern evidence and emotional accounts piling up on the record. Robyn intervenes, her voice firm but soothing, underlining Kody's stance while underlining her own take on things. She speaks of loyalty, sacrifice, and unseen toil, reminding the court and us that the family is more complex than appearances would imply. Meri, in a moment of newfound bravado, speaks of one final turning point, a fight that had never been made public, where deep secrets and betrayals came to a head. Her words vibrate with raw emotion, the courtroom going silent, all ears straining to drink in the weight of her testimony. Christine's control cracks ever so slightly, and Janelle's calm facade constricts, her mind whirling with implications. The session ends on a cliffhanger. The judge signals recess, but the tension hangs like smoke in the air. Each family member deals with the disclosures differently. Kody appears shattered but resolute, Robyn's firm but watchful demeanor, Meri shakes with both terror and bravery, Christine smooths her perceived advantage, and Janelle plots silently in the shadows. Outside of the courtroom, hushed murmurs suggest even greater secrets to come, and the viewer is left begging to see what will be revealed next. By Section 4's conclusion, audiences are completely engrossed in the drama, emotionally invested, on edge, and looking forward to the next session when the fallout, repercussions, and final resolutions start to emerge. The stakes have never been greater, and the narrative tension is at a breaking point. The air is thick in the courtroom now as Section 5 commences. The tempest of previous sessions has not died down. It hangs around, hovering as a dense cloud. Kody sits straight at the defense table, shoulders stiff, jaw set, eyes darting for any response in the room. Robyn is forward, palms together, face relaxed, but strained, prepared for that instant when she has to intervene. Christine sits straight, oozing confidence, her eyes narrowed and intent, as if the last disclosures have established her ground. Meri is white-faced, lips clenched, but there is a new resolve flashing past her terror. Janelle is outwardly calm, but her eyes give away the tumbling thoughts and machinations darting through her head. The judge brings the session to order, and the room falls silent almost at once. This session will decide the outcomes, not merely in terms of legal outcome, but in emotional closure, family dynamics. The previous witnesses are re-questioned, and fresh evidence comes forward, each one overlaid with the power to change the direction of the family. The tension is thick, the sort that makes the air feel charged with electricity. Christine stands up first, her tone even but assertive, as she describes a sequence of events that have framed her complaints. Each word is intentional, carrying with it emotion and accusation. She talks of betrayal, manipulation, and concealment, her account now supported by the evidence that has been adduced in the earlier sessions. The court is enthralled, leaning forward in every sentence as if it holds the answer to the turmoil that besets this family. Kody stands to reply, his voice firm but laced with desperation. He speaks of his intentions, of the decisions he made to save the family, and of the personal losses he has suffered. He points out that errors were committed, but never out of ill intent. His hands tremble a bit as he points toward the judge, begging not only for legal comprehension, but for an understanding of the intricacies of the family relationships. Meri stands next with a subdued resolve. She narrates experiences of personal anguish, times she felt betrayed, and situations when her voice was muffled. Her testimony is raw and emotional, enabling the audience to relate intimately with her outlook. She talks not just of the past, but also of reconciliation and understanding, the fine line running through the courtroom saga. Christine interrupts with trenchant questions, trying to destabilize the accounts of Kody and Meri. Her tone is crisp, measured, and deliberate, each question aimed at goading, laying bare contradictions, and corroborating her account. The courtroom is on tenterhooks with each exchange, tension building with every utterance. Robyn leans forward, interposing quietly to put points right, standing up for Kody and tactically juggling the emotional dynamics. A surprise witness is brought in, a past friend who has watched the family dynamics from afar. Their evidence highlights previously obscure interactions, covert discussions, and manipulative emotional plays that had gone unexamined. Gasps circulate around the courtroom as every revelation brings added depth. Kody's face tightens with shock, Meri's hands tremble, Robyn's eyes narrow, and Christine's expression shifts subtly, hinting at the impact of this new testimony. Janelle remains calm, though a flicker of concern crosses her eyes. The cross-examination continues with intensity. Each question is calculated, aiming to challenge the credibility of Kody, Robyn, and Meri. The courtroom is an emotional powder keg. Every emotional response is heightened under the scrutiny of the spotlight. Kody's voice trembles at times, but his presence is still firm, supported by years of experience managing intricate family dynamics. Robyn's interjections are controlled, calculated, and successful in keeping things in equilibrium. Meri's testimony is heartfelt, honest, and deeply affecting, drawing empathy from the audience and complicating the emotional landscape for Christine and Janelle. Evidence continues to mount: handwritten notes, emails, and photographs. Each piece deepens the narrative of betrayal, secrecy, and emotional conflict. The courtroom listens intently as these items are explained and contextualized. The audience can almost feel the weight of years of hidden tensions as the family's intricate web of relationships is laid bare. Kody swallows hard, absorbing the impact of each piece of evidence. Meri's eyes glisten with tears. Robyn leans in slightly, maintaining composure but fully aware of the stakes, and Christine's smile fades under the weight of mounting counterpoints. Janelle observes silently, methodically examining the stakes of each revelation. Finally, there is the emotional peak, a tape-recorded conversation from months previously, rendering a raw argument between Kody and Christine. Each phrase rings with anger, sadness, and aggravation. Kody's face fails him, Robyn clutches her hands together, and Meri gasps as the courtroom takes in the full emotional weight of the recording. Christine listens, a look of triumph blended with incredulity on her face, aware that the evidence verifies her account but lays bare the vulnerability and humanity of Kody in ways she hadn't foreseen. The last depositions are delivered, each family member explaining their version, their hurt, and their aspirations for the future. Kody speaks of responsibility and repairing shattered bonds. Robyn speaks of understanding and keeping family together. Meri opens up her personal experience of being isolated, hopeful, and having endurance. Christine's remarks are strong and vivid, reinforcing her complaints and calling for responsibility. Janelle speaks calmly, taking a step back and offering understanding and context that does not demonize or excuse, but shows the multifaceted nature of the family's circumstance. Closing arguments are requested by the judge, and all stand up and give emotional, compelling pleas. Kody's is a firm but tearful voice, calling for acknowledgement of the family's love in the face of error. Robyn calls for oneness and compassion. Meri speaks from the heart, intertwining truth with vulnerability. Christine is deliberate, powerful, and quietly tired in her words. Janelle's conclusion is measured, perceptive, and compassionate, reminding the court that every choice has serious long-term ramifications. The gavel falls. The judge renders a decision, not merely an act of justice, but an expression of the emotional depth, the betrayals, and the efforts at reconciliation. Kody breathes deeply, relief and tension unresolved in his face. Robyn relaxes back, still staring intently at the proceedings, drinking in the resolution. Meri blots away tears streaming down her face, a combination of sadness and release crossed on her face. Christine hears, her face unreadable for a moment before it softens ever so slightly. Janelle is calm, taking in the force of it all, her head already racing ahead with the next steps. The courtroom slowly drains, but the emotional weight remains. Brushed aside words, tears, and strained smiles betray that though the session has ended, the repercussions and emotional tailspin will carry on for months, years to come. Outside the courtroom, briefly, the family finds a moment together, thinking, comforting, and facing the devastation of a crisis session. The audience is left with unanswered questions. Who really occupies the moral high ground? What relationships can weather the betrayals? How will this family move forward? The drama could have culminated in court, but the emotional ride is far from over, having left the audience pondering, reacting, and arguing long after the credits roll. The camera pans slowly across the family, Kody's eyes filled with both exhaustion and determination, Robyn's calm but alert presence, Meri's tear-streaked, courageous face, Christine's complex mix of triumph and vulnerability, and Janelle's poised, strategic demeanor. Each expression tells a story far beyond words, leaving the audience immersed in the drama, contemplating loyalties, intentions, and the deep, emotional stakes of this family saga. Call to action. Now we'd love to hear from you. Who do you really believe had the upper hand in this courtroom fight? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's get a discussion going on who you think emerges stronger, and what might still be hiding behind closed doors.